Okay, I'm 19 years old, and I've never had a boyfriend. And I feel like nobody wants me. And it's just hard, because I feel like no one wants to love me.
Yeah.
And I put myself out there, you know, like, I try to tell people the truth because that's the only way, you know. And I feel like a couple times, like, I've maybe scared off a couple people because I've told the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to feel loved, even if it's not by a man.
Yeah. You're comparing yourself to what you see everybody else getting, right? I mean, your girlfriends swirl around you telling you about their boyfriends, huh? And in our society, being without a boyfriend or being without a girlfriend is worse than being without a leg. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, what does that say about you? There must be something horribly wrong with you, yeah? You're a pariah. You have leprosy. And that is not the case. Several of my children, well, actually most of them, didn't date much at all until they were in their 20s. Why? Do you know how many 19-year-old guys there are who are capable of unconditionally loving you? I don't want to distress you or anything, but when a 19-year-old guy meets you for the first time and goes, "Oh, baby," he's not saying, "I've experienced a sudden unconditional concern for your happiness." Mm-mm. And you don't want to do anything to get something less than the real thing. Be patient. Be calm. Wait around. You might have to wait longer. My kids often waited until they were older and dated older people. 19-year-old people aren't usually prepared for unconditionally loving. I know that because most 50-year-old people aren't prepared for unconditionally loving. Get it? So the biggest thing I would suggest to you is don't be in a hurry, really. And there's an enormous myth in our society, huge, that in order to be happy, we have to have an exclusive, intimate partner. Horse poop. No, what we need is unconditional love, which we can get from lots of people. You might start practicing with your brother. I know that sounds a little crazy at this point. But as you're simply honest with him about your mistakes, and as he's honest with about what a butt he's been with you, this is just going to revolutionize your relationship. You don't want to ever settle for less than the real thing. 1,000 conditionally loving people don't add up to one unconditionally loving relationship. Not even close. All these people out there who are trading imitation love often look happy, don't they? Pick up People magazine. Oh, don't they just look so in love? Huh? We're going to be together forever. And then you read, 6 weeks later? Oh, they've broken up. Surprise. Huh? So just be patient. Tell the truth about yourself. Wait for somebody who's capable of doing the right thing. Well worth the wait. Okay? Be calm. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's tragic how not only almost all of us as adults are out there looking for imitation love, but we teach our kids to do the same. And we teach it from the first moment that we smile at them when they do good and we're irritated when they don't. Right? Now, it's kind of ironic that we almost taunt our children, or that we're mystified that they cave into peer pressure, right? Where do you think they learned that? Us. They learn to change who they are to please us. Then as they get older, they learn to do that with their peers, and we wonder where they learned that. They learned it from us. They learned it from even our praise. Now, we think praise is kind of an innocent thing, don't we? It's really not. What children need is not our praise. They need our unconditional love. Praise can actually be very dangerous. Child comes home with good grades and we go, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." That's a very common thing for parents to say. That's a disaster. Because then what happens when the child comes home with a less than great grade and we don't say, "I'm so proud of you"? What did the child just learn? I love you conditionally. Do you see the trap? One of my children was a championship swimmer in high school. And you know how on the wall of the swimming pool, in the schools, they have the pool records? Well, on the wall of the swimming pool in our hometown, all it says is Rob. Rob, 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 Rob. That's my son's name. To this day, my son will meet kids from the high school and they'll say, "Are you the Rob?" Well, yeah. I mean, he was really quite a swimmer. And when he would go to these meets and come back, I never asked him if he won. Who cares? What does that have to do with loving him? What I would ask him is 2 questions. What did you learn? And did you have fun? Isn't that what we're here for? To learn and be happy? And so when I'd say, "What did you learn?" he'd say, "Well, on the bus there was this kid who was really bugging me and I started to get mad and then I realized, well, I'm being kind of a butt too and I learned to be more..." He'd tell me what he learned about loving people. Do you see? "Did you have fun?" "Oh, yeah, we had pizza and blah, blah, blah." And, I swam my personal best at the meet. He didn't tell me if he won. And then days later, the neighbors would tell me, "Oh, yeah, he won all the events at the meet." So, does that make him happier? Better? No, it doesn't. And yet we just go crazy over winning, don't we? We teach our children to lust after praise and power. Go to a high school stadium in the last second of the game when they throw the touchdown pass, right? And the wide receiver reaches out and catches it and with no time left on the clock falls into the end zone. Half the stadium erupts in just unbridled cheering. Look at the other half. They all look like they've been killed. "Oh, she's lousy refs, lousy. I was holding. It was interference." Man alive. Why do we have to win? Because we get vicarious power from even our team winning. Yuck! We teach our kids to get praise and power. My daughter was on a high school volleyball team, and there were 12 girls on the team. This is high school. 4 had already had breast implants. And you think, "Oh, well, how could mothers allow that?" Allow? The mothers insisted on it. Why? Every mother knows that a daughter will be treated differently if she's considered physically attractive. What do I mean by physically attractive? Sexually attractive, than if she's not. They're encouraged to behave that way. Their daughters are encouraged to go steady and to dress like prostitutes when they're 12. Look at these little kids. I went to a grade school the other day and went, "You're kidding." Half the girls looked like that. Little 12-year-old kids. So we're teaching our kids that that's what they've got to have, which is why you just said, "I want to feel loved." And one of the reasons that you don't is that you've been taught that love is that other stuff. One of my daughters came to me and said, "Dad, sometimes I feel left out. Here are all my other girlfriends and they're dating and they're going steady, and so on." And I said, "Go for it then. Go do what they're doing. How happy are they?" "Oh, shoot. You're right. No, you're right. They're miserable. They're having sex with their boyfriends. They're giving up their lives to get the conditional approval that lasts, in the word of one guy that we just heard here, anywhere from 2 weeks to an hour." And so I said to her, "Go ahead. You go sell your soul to these guys for an hour's worth of acceptance, and then you come back and let me know how that worked." That's an example of not controlling your daughter. Oh, she caught on immediately. As opposed to me saying, "Don't you do that." Then what would she have done? Gone and done it. See? Yeah, it's a real tragedy we teach our kids to do that. So you were describing a problem that you have with your kids.
Yes. I have a problem with trying to get them to stay in their seats and eat dinner. And I'm not that bad a cook. There is some things they like. I know they like it, but I can't get them to just stay there, and if they are sitting there, then they're talking about other things, or we're sitting there for like an hour, and it's too long. We need to move on to bedtime or other things.
Mm-hmm. So they get up and actually get out of their seats.
Yes.
And what do you do then?
Tell them to get back in their seat.
Do they?
Yes, most of the time. Mm-hmm. Unless the other thing I might do is threaten to maybe get a seat belt. Mm-hmm. Haven't done it yet, but...
How old are they?
I have 13, 10, 6, 3, 7 months.
Mm-hmm. A real handful.
Yeah.
And so after they get out repeatedly, does the volume of your requests rise?
Usually, yes.
Become increasingly irritated at them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about this before. When you get irritated at them, they hear what?
I don't love you.
They really do. And then I'm guessing it becomes quite a little power struggle.
Yes, yes.
Do you like that?
No.
I can't imagine you would.
It drains me.
I'll bet. I would imagine by the end of a day of begging children to do things and then begging them over and over again, it gets to be like an enormous drag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, especially when I feel like I'm doing something nice for them by feeding them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Doing them a favor.
Yes.
Versus never feeding them.
Yeah.
It's very nice of you.
Thanks. Appreciate that praise.
So instead of struggling with them, why not make it so that you just teach them with consequences? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be fun to have no anger at all? Do they quarrel with each other?
Yes.
I'll bet they do. I was just guessing.
Good guess.
Yeah. And they learned that from you.
Okay.
Really?
School. No.
Yeah.
No, okay, they learned it from me.
Yeah. And they did because every time you get angry at them, what they learn is attacking as a protecting behavior. So when they experience any threat from one another, what do? They do what you taught them to do.
Attack back.
And then here's the ultimate irony. This one just cracks me up. So here are two kids fighting, and then the mother comes in. Now remember, what they're doing is attacking.
Right.
And then the mother or the father, either one, comes in and says, "Stop that!" So what the parent is doing is telling them to stop attacking by using attacking. Brilliant. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. It's kind of like, be quiet.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. So they need to see a whole new you. Now, for a while, you're going to have to spend a lot of time practicing doing this with adults. Practicing with adults what you're going to say to the kids. No kidding.
Adults don't have any problem eating.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But you're going to practice saying to adults what you're going to be saying to your kids.
Okay.
Because if you just go and do it blindly with them, you're going to blow it. You're going to get irritated.
Okay.
So you need to practice saying with you. First of all, you need to feel more loved, or you wouldn't be irritated.
Okay.
You can't get that from your kids. It's not kids' job to love their parents. Forget it. And so you go tell some adults, I've been a really lousy mother.
Okay.
There's freedom in that. Do you see it?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. What's the number one job for a parent to do for a child?
Teach them.
Teach them and unconditionally
Love them.
love them. And when you get angry at them, are you unconditionally loving them?
No.
Lousy mother.
Yep.
See that? Now, there's no accusation to it. See? It frees you from saying there must be something wrong with those stinking kids. That's where we get confused. We keep expecting the kids to change before we enjoy parenting. No.
Doesn't work that
No,
way.
it's us. Every time. So, you're going to practice doing this differently with them, but you can't do it till you feel more loved yourself. Okay, you can't skip that step.
Okay.
You can't fake loving them. How many parents have called me and said, I was so mad at them, but I didn't show it. Yeah. Fire from the eyes, smoke from the ears, but you didn't show it. Yeah, you did. And they feel it.
Right.
So the first step that would be enormously helpful is, well, first you got to get loved. Then you tell your kids, I've done a lousy job. I get irritated at you. I yell at you. Stupid. My fault. Oh, you'll have their attention then. Kids don't ever hear from parents, I was the stupid one.
Right.
No, she say that's my fault. I'm going to do this differently from now on. There's not going to be yelling. There's not going to be get over here and do this. I'm not going to repeat myself. And you do it one little task at a time. So like with the kids at the dinner table, instead of come back here, I mean, this is a game with them.
Yeah, it is.
You know? Come back down, so they come back for a little while, and then they jump back down again, and this is I wonder if Mom's going to call us back to the table this time. I mean, they're enjoying this.
Right. It's attention.
Yeah. So it comes down to imposing a consequence for their behavior.
Okay.
You sit at the dinner table until you're done, which means that when you get up,
You're
you
done.
are done. You got it immediately. And so the instant that a child stands up from their chair, they don't even have to go away from the table. They're finished.
Okay.
You just reach over, you take the plate, and they love this part. If you take the plate and simply scrape their food off onto the other kids' plates, they know it's over. Because now the other kid ain't giving up that food.
Mine might.
So they're finished. They don't eat later. They don't eat.
Okay.
You don't snack them later on. And when they say, oh, Mom, I'm hungry, you go, oh, wow, I'm sorry about that.
Feel bad for you.
There'll be a full breakfast in the morning if you choose to sit down.
Okay.
Real simple. But there's no irritation. And the child learns after missing one meal, I don't like missing dinner. That's what they learn. You see?
Yes.
This is just so easy. And boy, will you love what it does to your relationship with them. Then you start applying it to everything else. Clean rooms, getting up on time, everything. There's no yelling, there's no nothing. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Do you get them up for school?
Yes.
Stupid. See, it's a game they're playing with you.
Okay,
what can we get Mom to make us do?
I'm good at playing the game. Huh?
Yeah. When my kids got to be 8 years old, I gave them a watch. And I said, here's how you tell time. Here's what you do with the alarm clock. And now, you're a responsible person. You get to get yourself up and get to school. And so, sure enough, the very next morning, one of the 8-year-olds came running into the kitchen. I'm not joking when I say this. And there's no lecture. I just tell it to them. And he came running in and he said, the bus is gone. I know. He said, we got to hurry and get to school. I said, I don't go to school. He said, well, what am I going to do? I said, walk. It was only 2 miles.
So do you write him an excuse?
He said, well, if I walk, I'll be late. I said, then run. And then they learned that if they wanted to get to school on time, they could either get up or they could pay for the cab out of their own money to get to school. That only happened once. They were on time for the rest of their lives. I'm not kidding. There's no yelling. They just didn't like the consequences of being late. They discovered it cost them money. You don't write them a note. Oh, actually, one kid said, will you write me a note? I said, sure. Ben was irresponsible and slept in. And I gave it to him, and he said, I can't give her that. I said, well, you asked me to write a note.
You write the truth.
Yeah, you write the truth. Oh, it's just such a breeze being a parent. No kidding. See, we keep taking the responsibility that should be theirs. It's not my responsibility to sit still for them. That's their job. And if they don't want to sit still, I don't make them either. You just take their plate. If they don't want to do their job by 6 o'clock, they don't eat. If they don't want to have their jobs done when their friends come over, they don't go with their friends. Simple. And mine got real clever. They would intentionally not do their jobs and wait for their friends to come and then say, oh, I'd like to go with you, but I don't have my jobs done. And they'd always get their friends to help them.
Right.
Well, I don't care. Them and Tom Sawyer, go for it. But I don't worry about the job. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
So try that.
More energy, I bet.
Oh, there's none of this tension and then this why don't you know that feeling? I bet
Yes.
you know that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too well.
Yeah, and another thing, read the Real Love and Parenting book. Oh, it'll just take you through 100 examples like this. Fun, huh?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you were going to tell us about the thrill of leaving on family vacations.
Yeah, whenever we go anywhere, whether it's like a big long vacation or just a little day outing, it's a big, huge deal with my husband. He thinks we don't move fast enough. I have to get ready, shower. Doesn't like that part. I'm supposed to be helping get other stuff ready.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a big conflict. And so he always gets mad at me and the kids, and I never want to go. I'm always like, I'm not going, I'm staying here. And I'll sit in the laundry room and just not go until we have a big argument, and then we'll go.
Probably ruins the whole rest of the trip, doesn't it?
Well, at least for the first part.
Yeah. Inconsiderate swine. No, I didn't mean that. So let's see. So when he's fussing and fuming at you and being angry, obviously not feeling loved.
See, I don't think that's the issue. I mean, we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing.
He's not feeling loved.
Right, okay.
Yeah. People who are fussing and fuming at other people never feel loved.
Well, so what does he have to feel loved about to go on a trip? I don't understand. I mean, what are we doing?
All right, it's like this.
I just don't
It's like
understand
this. Okay. Calm down. Here we go. So imagine that you're sunburned from head to foot.
Right, okay.
And then I walk by you unwittingly, not knowing you're sunburned.
Right.
And I bump you.
Yeah.
That would really hurt, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And you would be almost certain to say that I hurt you. I didn't hurt you, though, did I? Your stupidness lying out in the sun and getting a sunburn is what hurt you.
Right.
All I did was touch you.
Okay.
He comes to your relationship already sunburned.
Okay.
Already wounded. You get this? So that now all it takes from you is that, and he's mad. Following this?
Okay.
He's not mad about you being late. He's already at the end of his tether about a lot of things.
Okay.
Then being late is more than he can stand. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. You're not responsible for the entire load on his back.
Mm-hmm.
You're responsible for the straw. Whatever.
Right.
So the basic load is he's not feeling sufficiently unconditionally loved. Mm-hmm. And then he lashes out when he gets inconvenienced, bothered, whatever.
Right.
Criticized,
Okay.
blah, 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 blah. Then he gets angry at you.
He just gets more stressed when we have to go somewhere. So that
Bingo.
makes...
Because when he has to go somewhere and you're not ready, what's the feeling he experiences? Helpless.
Right.
Out of
Anxiety
control.
or whatever.
No, I'm trying to help you see
Okay.
that when you don't have enough real love in your life, one thing that really helps is feeling in control, power. And if somebody reaches out, power is a substitute for real love, control.
Right.
And if somebody reaches out and takes it from you, which is what happens when they're about to make you late,
Right.
make you
Okay.
crazy.
Okay.
This is what's going on.
Right. I see. that
Clear now?
Okay, clear.
So, when you get angry at him in return, what he's telling you is two things.
Right.
I don't love you, but he's also saying, I need some reassurance. I need to feel loved. When you get angry at him, what you're saying is, tough. I'll bet that doesn't work very well. What do you think?
No, it doesn't work. No.
And then he gets more angry. That's just lousy.
Yeah.
So what could you do differently? Knowing what you know now. You probably don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Most of us have never seen situations like this handled differently. So what you do is you don't wait until he's in a tizzy and you're late. You're done then. It's too late. Just kiss it goodbye, kill the dog, it's over. You need to talk to him before these events happen. So you sit down with him and you say, I don't think I really paid attention to your need for us to be on time. I haven't been paying attention to what's important to you. So let's talk about what would make you feel relaxed about our going somewhere. Okay? He doesn't have to control everything you do.
Right.
What you're looking for is the end result. So the first thing you say is, other than me being an inconsiderate, unloving hag and being angry at you in return, which has been really stupid on my part. Start off with that.
Okay.
Then you say, now, what can we do to technically alleviate this problem. But I'm not going to get mad anymore. That's stupid. It doesn't work. And I apologize for that. So if we're going to leave for a place at noon, what would set you at rest? Like, in other words, if the kids were all dressed by a quarter till, and you leave me to accomplish that however it is, would you feel calm if you knew I was going to be ready by quarter till? Would that do?
That probably would work.
And if he says yes, then you say, okay, now, what will be your part in this? What part will you play in helping the kids get ready, blah, blah, and so on. And then let's do a division of labor so that we're done at a quarter till. My wife and I never leave for anything later than 15 to 20 minutes before we have to be there, ever. We're never even close to late. If there's a wreck, we go, oh, so what? We've always factored in plenty of time. We go to the airport and there's a 95-car pileup. Oh, so what? Because we factored in the time. And so you plan ahead. You say, if it takes an hour and a half to get there in a Jaguar at 200, see, that's not how you figure out how to get to a place. No, you figure out what it really takes to get there with traffic. Then you say, we're going to leave 15 minutes sooner than that. Then we're going to have the kids ready 15 minutes sooner than that. And I can't tell you how stupid it's been for me to not listen to you before now. Eliminate the stress from your life.
So I'm a poor judgment on time, so.
And that's why each time you agree to go somewhere, the two of you talk.
Okay.
It's only partly about details. Do you see how this is important this is? The biggest reason that you're going to sit down with him and talk to him about arriving at a place isn't so much to work out 15-minute...
Right.
When you sit down with him to talk about the details, what are you really telling him?
That I care and
yes, my dear.
I want to help him.
Yes. What he's really going to hear is, I care about you. I want to get there on time. You're going to blow him away. He may not get rid of his fussing immediately, but he will. Because you're going to be working with him to get where he wants to get with no stress. Isn't that going to be fun?
Yeah.
All this anxiety is just sucky. Get rid of it. Buy a Jaguar. Thanks.
When a child is doing the getting or protecting behavior, do you give them what they want, or aren't you just reinforcing the negative behavior?
So give me an example.
Okay, let's say, let's see. Well, you have a teenager that wants to stay out later than the usual curfew, and you say, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Well, it's summer, and you say, no, that sounds really late. We could do a compromise maybe, but the compromise doesn't sound good, so she just keeps on asking in a louder and louder tone.
So what you do is you make a decision based on what's right. And that's absolutely unrelated to the whining, the attacking, and everything that follows. Make sense? But you got to be sure that it's the right decision. We tend to ignore the law of choice when it comes to our children. We think that just because we're their parents, we need to control them more. Making sense?
Okay.
We need to allow children to make their own choices as soon as they understand the consequences. Do you follow me? When my children got to be, 12, 13, I told them, make your own curfew. But you have to live with the consequences of that. They made a couple of mistakes and went, okay, I get it. In other words, you teach them the right principles, you love them, and you know what? If you have faith in them, they tend to make the right choices. Follow that?
Okay.
But you only give them the right to make choices as they reach the level of responsibility where it's obvious they can begin to handle that. For example, a child cleaning his room. I get calls all the time from parents saying, I cannot get this child to clean his room. And I say, well, how old is the child? 18. You're kidding. This child's going to be out of the house in 3 months and you're making him clean his room? After our children were, I make them clean their rooms till they're 8. I figure you ought to at least know what one looks like. And then after that, it's your room. I mean, you're halfway out of the house at 8, aren't you? Almost. Which is a bit of a celebration at our house.
Wow.
I mean, you've got to be teaching them to be increasingly independent. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And so, like, let's say a child comes to you and says, okay, my curfew is 11, but it's summertime and so on, and I'd like it to be midnight. And you say, that makes perfect sense. Okay, why not? But if it doesn't make sense and you decide, no, it needs to be 11 o'clock, then when they start to whine, you say, was any part of 11 o'clock unclear to you? Well, no, but, well, see, what you're doing now, all of the whining and so on, these are all just attempts to manipulate me to change it. And it isn't going to make any difference. The only reason a child keeps whining is because it has worked in the past. Children who aren't successful in manipulating, stop it. I mean, because it's not fun. There's no yield. But what we do is we tend to give in to our children's whining for one basic reason. What's the biggest reason we're afraid to impose consequences on our children and we're afraid to say no? What's the reason?
We want them to like us.
We want them to like us. Oop, kiss of death. Our children are not there to like us. I can't tell you how many times when I've said to people, does anybody here have any experience with unconditional love? Oh yes, my children unconditionally love me. Oh, your children are dead. You're ruining your kids. It is not your kids' job to do that. For one thing, do you know that children cannot unconditionally love you? It's not possible. Unconditional love means they love you with no conditions. Your children need you far too much to love you with no conditions. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Way too much. They have to want something from you in return. Unconditional love is not possible from a child. So it's our job to love them, which means what? That we see to their happiness, not their entertainment, not their ease, but their genuine happiness, which also includes what? The laws of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And an irresponsible child can't be happy. So if we say to a child, okay, and give in because we hate the whining, we're dead. And so's the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So you just calmly say, no, it's 11 o'clock. The rest of it is sounding a whole lot like the buzzing of flies to me. It doesn't even make sense. And when they catch on that that's not a way that you can be manipulated, they're done. But you also have to be very careful that when they have a reasonable request, you listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I need to stay out for 2 hours. Oh, yeah, okay. And then if they prove themselves responsible in handling that choice, then you say, you know, you've done beautifully. The last half dozen times we've extended your curfew, why don't you take that as your new curfew? You see?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of always punishing, restricting, withholding, controlling. They really hate that. Inwardly, children actually know about the law of choice. Did you know that? They actually know that there's something wrong with being controlled, and it just brings out the fight in them.
Mm-hmm.
You may have noticed that.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Beautiful question, thanks. So you had a question about consequences.
Yes. Okay, you mentioned that it helps to kind of work out the consequences with the child. And with reference to the curfew, for example, you said, yeah, let them, if they choose to have a later curfew, possibly let them have that and see the consequences of that. If, however, the consequences are something like the child stays out later and he becomes ornery and and is making everybody, he's ornery and teasing, and so everyone else around the family is miserable, but he doesn't care because he's staying up late and being with his friends, and he doesn't care that he's teasing his brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. So he's fine with it, mm-hmm. but the rest of us can't live with him. Mm-hmm. Then where do you go at that point?
In the first place, he doesn't choose the later curfew. You do.
Right.
You wait until you think he's ready for it. Now, then let's say he abuses it and starts affecting other people. Mm-hmm. If his behavior affects only him, like a dirty room,
right?
So what?
Sure.
However, if I have a child who has a spectacularly dirty room, and I had one of those, we didn't just have him shut the door, we sealed it with tape because it smelled so bad. If that child then says, I can't find any clothes. Oh, I'm sorry. And the rest of us are supposed to cry about what?
Right.
I mean, the
Right.
natural consequence of you having a dirty room is you can't find anything. You see?
Yeah.
So you just live with that. But if you start affecting other people,
Right.
that's different. And so then I would sit with that child and I would say, you remember we increased your curfew to whatever it was. Fine, but it's starting to affect other people. So here's the deal. You can either start to come in earlier so that you get more sleep so that it doesn't affect other people and do this on your own, and we'll leave the curfew later. Or we'll change it for you. See, then it just becomes a natural consequence.
Right.
We will change the curfew back. But first you give them a chance to change the behavior on their own.
Right. So he still has his choice. I didn't immediately take it away.
Exactly. They always have a choice. You don't have to do your job, but you don't have to eat either. See? If you don't do your job, you don't eat. If you decide you want to make the other kids in the family miserable, you lose your later curfew.
Right.
But you always have a choice to make. We always give the kids a choice. That way there's never this feeling of coming down and controlling them, which they
wanna
just
do.
hate.
Right.
We want to do it. But see, the problem is the instant you control a child like that, what they hear is, you're a complete moron.
Right.
You couldn't possibly make the right choice without me controlling you. And by the way, I don't love you either. It just doesn't work very well.
Horrible.
Yeah. Making sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, it is hard, that's all right. It is hard sometimes to know what consequence to come up with. What's too harsh, right? If you are feeling loved, you won't make the consequence too harsh. If you're feeling irritated, you will. That's how you tell, okay? So people often call me, well, what about this and what about this one? Were you irritated when you imposed it? Well means yes. So if you are irritated, the consequence will be too harsh. You will blow it. If you're feeling loving, your consequence will be just dandy. You watch. Yeah, thanks.
When you were talking about husband and wife, when you're fighting with your husband, your biggest fear is that if you point out your getting and protecting behaviors, then they'll disagree with you, and that it's all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's really hard.
And see, the only reason you'd be afraid of that is the fear that you've learned from past judgments. Remember we talked about event, judgment, feeling, reaction. Mm-hmm. You've learned a judgment from the past, which, gosh, almost everybody in this room has learned, that if you admit you're wrong, flawed, stupid, mistaken, people will think less of you.
Yes.
That's what you're afraid of. We all are. I mean, why do you think it is that when the teacher asks a question in class, 90% of the class sits there going, holding their hands down? They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be stupid. Mm-hmm. We're terrified of that. You're afraid that if you say to your husband, I'm being angry and selfish, you're afraid that he's going to go, you sure are, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if he does in that moment, what's he really telling you? He's not feeling loving in that moment. He's incapable of loving you. So what? That has nothing to do with you. He's not drowning to you. He's just drowning. So what do? You immediately stop telling him the truth. In that moment, you go call somebody else and tell him that you're stupid and selfish and angry. You call somebody who can love you. And if you're reasonably sure that your husband will not be accepting if you say that, you wait. Don't do it with somebody where you think you're going to get an ugly reaction. We don't need any more wounds,
Yeah.
We don't. And frankly, in the beginning, this sounds a little contrary, in the beginning, most of the time I recommend to people that you don't practice telling the truth about your getting and protecting behaviors with close family members, including your spouse. And the biggest reason is not because of their flaws, but because of your expectations. Do you see? Okay. If you tell the truth to the mailman and he doesn't love you,
Doesn't matter.
But see, if you tell the truth to somebody you expect to love you and they don't, devastating. See? Yeah. So initially, it's better to tell the truth of people where your expectations are low. People you know little. That's why you start off gradual, just little things. Then when you find somebody who hears the truth about you and accepts you, ooh, tell them some more. Just a little more, and then a little more. And then you just get more and more love from them, and then one day it will be obvious to you. You're going to feel so filled up, maybe not $20 million, but 100,000, that you're going to go, I could do this. I could go tell my husband the truth about what I just did. And then if he said, you sure do, you'd just go, no, I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, he's drowning, but I gave it a shot. Then you go back to telling your friends the truth, and eventually you come back and you try again. The object is not to find a replacement for your spouse. The object is to tell the truth about yourself to people who can give you enough love that you can take it back to your relationship. Which is why in the beginning, I usually recommend that women tell the truth about themselves to other women. Because if you tell the truth about yourself, if you're in a married relationship, if you tell the truth about yourself with somebody with whom there's even a remote possibility of sexual attraction, there's some real danger there, you know?
Because you're so thirsty.
Yeah, because like let's say that you go and tell the truth about yourself to a man, and he just pours on the unconditional love. You aren't looking for an affair, but this guy just pours on unconditional love. That is such a rush to be loved unconditionally that it's real easy to develop an unfaithful attraction to that person. Follow?
Yeah.
And so you want to stick with women. If I'm talking to a gay man, I say tell the truth to women. Just somebody with whom you don't have a sexual attraction. Feel so completely loved with as few distractions as possible. Then you take that back to the relationship with your intimate partner. Oh, and he'll feel it. Now, maybe not the first time. That's okay. If you go back the first time and you tell him the truth and he goes, so what? Remember, you're practicing unconditional love. It's not loving him only if he's nice. Making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice question. Thanks. I have shared the principles of real love with people all over the world, and I'm impressed with the absolutely consistent, positive results experienced by those who diligently apply these principles. People are simply amazed at the genuine, lasting differences they're seeing in their lives, often quite noticeable in a matter of days or weeks. Singles are completely changing the way they see love, falling in love, and dating. Finally, they're finding the kind of partners they've always wanted, and they're learning what it takes to build those relationships in a healthy and lasting way. Married couples are learning how to overcome the wounds and obstacles that have been bleeding the joy out of their relationships. They're learning how to really love one another, and in the process, they're creating a level of happiness they'd never imagined possible. Parents are discovering that raising children who feel loved and who are loving and responsible is so much easier and fruitful than everything else they've tried. Parenting doesn't have to be the stressful and confusing experience that it is for so many of us. We've all experienced so much frustration, irritation, and pain in our lives that we've come to accept it as normal. It does not have to be that way. The bottom line is this: people are eliminating the fear, frustration, and anger from their lives, and instead they're finding peace and real power as they feel unconditionally loved and as they share that real love with others. These people are not unique. You too can learn to find the genuine happiness they have found. As you learn the principles of real love, it's very likely that you'll have many questions. You'll wonder, exactly what does this principle mean? How would I apply that to my husband or my child or on a date? I have seen the results of real love in so many lives and with such consistency that I don't hesitate to make you a promise. If you will dedicate yourself to the pursuit and sharing of real love, you will be rewarded in ways you can scarcely imagine at this point. I know this sounds like a grand claim, but real love has a greater power to change our lives than anything else. By far, it simply works. What would you pay for a sense of absolute peace? for the power to feel happy and undisturbed in the face of any conflict or difficult situation, for the feeling that you are loved without condition, and the ability to share that feeling with those around you. Frankly, we already pay with everything we have, with our very lives, for much less than the positive feelings and qualities I just described. We trade everything we have for conditional approval, for power, and for other things that are pale, shallow imitations of love. Essentially, we give up everything in return for nothing. The price for finding real love is much less than what we're paying now. We only have to learn a few real love principles, and then we will change the way we see and feel about everything. I have counseled with a great number of people from all over the world, and I've seen individuals, couples, and parents spend countless thousands of dollars on individual counseling, group therapy, marriage counseling, and professional help for their children. Singles spend vast sums on internet dating and on the dating process itself. And by way of contrast, I've received thousands of communications now from people who have said that exposure to real love has made all that counseling and professional help completely unnecessary for them. Real love has revolutionized their lives in dating, marriage, parenting, business, and every other aspect of life. I personally know of no more powerful way to begin the journey toward real love than to subscribe to Real Love, and it won't cost thousands of dollars. The monthly cost of subscription is less than the cost of a dinner for two, less than the cost of half an hour of therapy, less than $1 a day. As a physician, I have stood at the bedsides of many people who were close to death, and I can tell you that at the end of our lives, we don't care how much money we have. We don't care how many people we control or how big our house is or how many people we've persuaded to praise us or respect us. What matters to us is how loved we feel and how well we have loved those around us. Don't wait till the end of your life to figure out these pivotal priorities. Decide now that you'll do whatever it takes to find and share real love. As you do that, you'll find the happiness you've always wanted as an individual, and you'll be able to participate with far more power and pleasure in all your relationships: dating, marriage, parenting, other family associations, friendships, and in the workplace.
I'd say do it now. You just can't do this stuff soon enough, and the more you practice, there's sometimes a fear because it brings up all of these issues, but when you do it and you make a commitment and you take action, it will transform your life. Are you willing to be happy, and are you willing to do the steps necessary to get you there? Sign up today.
Do it. Stop everything you're doing right now and do it.
Don't hesitate. Jump in. It's just remarkable, and I think so many times we hear from people, you should try this, it'll change your life. And this is, you hear that and then you try something for a couple of weeks and you think, oh, forget about that, and you move on. This is totally different. And this has been 2 years that I've been working on these principles with my marriage, with my kids, in my friendships and relationships, and it's amazing how it can change your life and how you can just become a whole lot more peaceful and happy walking through your days.
Oh, I would encourage it, absolutely. I'm very excited about it. In fact, I can't help but tell people about it. It has changed my life so much that I would encourage everybody to jump in head first and do as much of it as they can, because the results are phenomenal.
If someone were considering learning more about real love, I would think that it would be the greatest gift that they could give to themselves and to everyone that's in their life. Not only will they enrich their happiness, the happiness of everyone else will increase tremendously. It's one of the best things that they could ever do.
I'd recommend it for anybody, no matter what stage. I mean, whether you're a young person, a middle-aged, or an older person like I am. There's always ways that you can learn more and not shut yourself up and be open to new things. It's really great.
Do it, hurry.
go and seek it out, because I look at the age that I am, and I certainly wish that I had known of it sooner and could have practiced more of it. I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache and possibly saved my marriage.
Drop everything you're doing and get involved. Talk to a friend, read the book, call someone that's read the book, get to a seminar, and get involved. It's that important.
Never be satisfied with just getting along in life. Don't just survive, as most people do. Don't be satisfied with any more superficial or unproductive relationships. Instead, take this opportunity to subscribe to Real Love and find the unconditional love and fulfilling relationships you've always wanted. You'll be grateful for the rest of your life that you took this step. Remember, it's always about real love.